Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to see all of you who are here in our sanctuary with us this evening. Those of you who are joining us on live stream. Feels really good to be together on this Shabbat. We're going to begin with words that opened our service last week, words that come straight from our Torah and from our people's song of freedom, from the Song of the Sea. Ozi v'zimrat yah, vayehili lishua. God will be my strength and my salvation, as well as my song. I want to draw your attention to your orders of worship. There's actually an insert in it that has the lyrics to some of the special prayers that we're going to be singing together as a community tonight. So I'll send your attention there as we begin with Ozi v'zimrat yah.
Continues with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, page 2 in your prayer books. We want to invite up Kathy and John Levison, the honor of lighting our Shabbat candles this evening.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Blessed are you, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. This evening, we welcome Shabbat with these beautiful candles. Those of you who are joining us at home, perhaps you lit candles just now along with us. And those lights, the lights of Shabbat, are the thing that binds us all together. We know that no matter where we are in the world, in the country, or even on South Orange Avenue, that when Shabbat arrives, Jews all over the world usher in Shabbat with light. Each week, we watch the flame flicker and wane and fight to attach itself to the wick of the candles. One by one, the flames timidly, almost reluctantly make their way atop the Shabbat candlestick, and then there is a moment after the spark ignites and the flame grows tall, and all of a sudden, Shabbat has arrived in the world. These candles are a symbol. They stand with us throughout our service. We don't blow them out once the bracha has been said. We keep them standing and glowing and flickering in our midst. They shine light on us and on this sacred moment in time. And that light acts as a beacon, calling us into Shabbat, engaging our senses, and reminding us to bask in the glow. Our tradition tells us time and again that where there is darkness, there is also light, that those who sow in tears will reap in joy, and that the righteous and upright in heart will indeed experience light. So on this Shabbat, we come together in song and in solidarity, in community and in prayer, and we acknowledge the darkness, we acknowledge our sorrow, but we also bring in this Shabbat, as we do each week, with light and with gladness, and with joy and with song. So we'll continue on your Shabbat inserts with Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Light is sown for the righteous and gladness for the upright in heart. This melody will repeat, and as it does, we invite you to lift your voices in community with us, in song and in prayer. We'll now turn in our prayer books to page 20 and continue welcoming Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi. Please join us.
Shabbat
Ahead in our prayer books, page 146. I invite you to rise for the Baruch Hu. Page 147, we join in the words of the Hebrew. The transliteration can be found alongside. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, u'bidvuna mishane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et ha'kochavim, b'mishmeroteham barakir kirtzono, bo'rayom b'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
Mavir yom mevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam. תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב ערבי.
From thanking God for creation to proclaiming our faith in that one God, page 149, we continue with the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We continue with our prayer of freedom and deliverance, thanking God for redemption, then and now. Micha Mocha, page 152.
Adonai.
who frees the slave and liberates the captive, look with mercy on the people of Colleyville, Texas, Congregation Beth Israel, and the rescued hostages there. Victims of hatred and anti-Semitism, grant them shelter and solace, comfort and consolation, blessing and renewal so that recovery can begin, leading to a complete restoration of heart, mind, and spirit. Release them from suffering and from their trauma, return them in wholeness to life, and bless the first responders and law enforcement professionals who brought their hearts and their skills to the hours of standoff, to the task of rescue. May they also know freedom from this ordeal. To those of hate and terror in any land of any faith, you will not succeed. And to our brothers and sisters of every faith, let us extend our hand to one another so this community can heal, so that throughout the world we become a shining light of blessing. As together we say, Amen. In the evening, we pray for safety from the darkness with the words of the Hashkivenu. Tonight, we extend those prayers to our fellow Jews in Texas and those all over the world who fear the darkness of oppression and hatred. We pray to the source of redemption, spread over us your Sukkot Shlomecha, your canopy of peace over all we love, this night and each night of our lives. The Hashkivenu can be found on page 153.
Ufros aleinu Sukkat, Sukkat, Shalom Echa, Ufros
We'll continue with the blessings of the Amidah on page 155. I'll invite you to please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geulah Livnei Vneihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah Rav le'hoshia, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. And at this point in our service, we take some time to turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing, healing of the body or healing of the spirit. Tonight in our Bnai Jeshurun community, we're praying for the healing of Cindy Baker, Ira Bernstein, Ed Goldberg, Alan Tilley, Ivy Kirschenbaum, Julie Levine, Janice Levine, David Rothman, Teresa Schlossberg, Tammy Schwartzberg, Shmuel Ben Rivka, and Eliana Leora Bat Shoshana Leah. If there's anybody you are holding in your hearts tonight that you would like to pray for a public prayer of healing, I invite you to say their name and their relation to you if you feel so inclined. Patty. Fred. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals the sick. The words of Misha Berach can be found on the inside back cover of your prayer books.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
As we think about the meaning of healing for ourselves and our community, we turn to the words of Rabbi Charlie Citroen Walker from this past week. We are not helpless. We bring healing with Band-Aids and hugs, a cup of coffee and chicken soup. We are not helpless. We bring healing with a text, a call, a card, a response that says you are not alone. We are not helpless. We bring healing with acceptance, patience, and understanding for ourselves and for others. We are not helpless. We bring healing with words of compassion and acts of compassion, reaching out with care and love. We are not helpless. We bring healing to heart and mind, body and soul. We bring healing every day. We are not helpless. And of course, we pray for the healing of our world, an abundance of peace. Shalom Rav. Can be found on the insert of your order of worship.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav. Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. We were all made from love, and to love will return if we keep singing love. We will always be heard. Give me a breath. Together we'll stand with peace in our hearts. We will sing it across every land. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav. Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav. Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. So be every heart and free every soul and sing every voice and let us be whole. Be every heart and feel every soul and sing every voice and let us be whole. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav. Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav. Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav.
Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel taught that there are two main types of prayer. He taught that there was prayer as an act of expression and prayer as an act of empathy. The first is when your mood or thoughts elicit words of prayer. And the second, when the words of prayer produce thoughts. On a week like this, where it is sometimes hard to find the right words, it's an instance where we need both of these types of prayer. We need the words on the page that we are most familiar with to put us in the mindset to pray. We might let those words wash over us as they are intended to do. And at the same time, we need the opposite. We need the space to take the thoughts and worries and hopes and fears that we've gathered throughout the week and allow them to transform into our own spontaneous and personal words of prayer. So tonight we do both. We've prayed together as one community, united by our common tradition, shared experience, and shared words. And we take that individual time to pray the words in our minds and our hearts. We'll take a few moments to pray silently.
Chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai, dai. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, and you must build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, and if we build this world from love, yadadai, then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And to all of you at home, we welcome you into our sanctuary. Both at Rodef Shalom and here at Bnai Jeshurun, I never did, I never do, and I don't think I ever will lock the door of my rabbinic study. I just don't think that way. I see our temple as sanctuary, and I see my study as safe, frankly, as my own home. That's consciously, because I realized last Shabbat morning that subconsciously I must have other thoughts that bubble beneath my surface. Last Shabbat morning, I was standing right here. We were celebrating two superlatively joyous B'nai Mitzvah, two brothers 18 months apart, parents who are incredibly devoted and connected to our synagogue community. The mother's father, the boy's grandfather, one of the more prominent rabbis of the Midwest, was here to be able to bless his grandchildren. It brought chills to our spine and tears to our cheeks. And for no overt reason, I had no idea what was going on in Texas. I sat down on my chair over there, and out of seemingly nowhere, I thought to myself, what happens if this is the day? What happens if someone busts through those doors and started to shoot? I looked at the people sitting in the back and thought about them, thought about what moves I would have to make. For those of us in the pulpit, did I remember my active shooting drill exercises that we've gone through? I stopped, not realizing why this was on my mind, and thought, you're leading a service here. It's probably better to now focus on the Baruch Hu. And so I got out of the way of myself and I continued. I went home, had lunch with my family, and later that day I went and officiated at someone's bat mitzvah turning 83 years old. It's a tradition that if you get 70 years, you add 13. As some of you have, you're supposed to have a bar bat mitzvah. I went to her home and listened to her chant Torah. Very few people there because of the pandemic, a lot of the family on Zoom. I walked out, one of those moments where I thought to myself, I am so lucky that I get to do what I do for a living. I couldn't get over how grateful I was to have been with this family. I got into my car and looked into my phone, and as the metaphor goes, my phone was blowing up with texts and alerts and emails. All of it had me stop right there, couldn't even put the car into gear, and felt a combination of dismay, of heartbreak, of spiritual claustrophobia, of fear, of shock, and I was nauseated. All of it combined into one. I wanted to go back into the home, press rewind, and make believe that I never got in my car and checked my phone. I did go home, and I got into the mode to which I unfortunately have become so accustomed. I first checked in with our clergy team, making sure they knew what was going on and knowing that we were now on, whatever that meant. I called Mark Rothstein, our executive director, asking him to make sure that he was immediately in touch with our security team, with the Millburn Police Department, with the local Homeland Security and the Sheriff's Department. Then I was in touch with Craig Parker here tonight, our president, making sure that he was keyed in, we were all on the same page, and moved quickly on to local colleagues, checking in with them, one eye all on Matt and one eye, like the rest of you, glued to the television, all at the same time holding my proverbial breath. I started to help with colleagues locally, the vigil, which we held later on that evening, which I'm sure many of you were at the same time answering flurries of emails from you, from our congregational community, worried and frightened and uncertain, looking up on another chat, another Google screen, I should say, wondering when Charlie, the rabbi, was ordained, knowing he was Reformed, knowing he went to the same seminary that we all went to, trying to place him in lineage of which of my friends knew him, who was sitting with his mother, who was sitting with his wife and his kids, wondering if their dad would come home, all at the same time praying, please God, don't let this happen, don't let it happen. Suddenly remembering to focus. You know what happens when you over-focus? It becomes a disguise so you don't have to feel all the things that you're feeling. But what I wasn't doing was paying attention to what was happening right in front of me. I actually didn't see her. Sadie was standing in front of the fireplace, as she often does during winter months to get the extra heat that emanates from it, looking confused. I finally plugged in to, quite frankly, no offense to you or the community in any place, to what's most important to me. And I looked at her and she said, Daddy, I don't understand what's going on. With the continuing dismay and deflation understanding that I had no choice. I couldn't hide it from her. It was there on television blaring. But to explain these things, again, to my kids. So I just told her. What do you mean, she demanded. A rabbi? A rabbi is being kidnapped? Shabbat morning with people just like ours from TBJ? In shul, she said. What's going to happen, Dad? What's going to happen to them, she demanded. I don't know, Sadie. I pray that the police and the FBI will help figure it out, and somehow they're all going to get out. Are they going to kill the hostage taker? And please excuse me. Without missing a beat, I said, I sure the heck hope so. And then said, oh, Sadie, I hope they're all freed. She stopped asking, just sort of hung her head down. I needed to go back to focusing on being a rabbi. But I realized later that she personalized it. I could see it in her eyes. If it could be Rabbi Citroen Walker, it could be my dad. If it was Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, it could be Congregation Bnai Jeshurun in Short Hills. Without saying anything else, her eyes, her thoughts, her expressions said it all. Said it all about how we feel, all about the world in which we live. But this is the world in which we live, one that is replete with anti-Semitic hate in ways that just a few years ago, we didn't think was fathomable. So I'm trying, even though it's one of my favorite words, I'm actually trying to not use the word unfathomable anymore, because between Pittsburgh and Poway and public beatings in Manhattan and Los Angeles and Charlottesville and media bias and political silence or political, even worse, encouragement, this is now part of the reality of living in the United States of America. Remember when just 5 years ago, 7 years ago, we looked with judgment and dismay at Paris, at Brussels, at Munich? Well, those seeds are finally planted here on the American shores. We simply cannot be blinded anymore. Yes, I want to say out loud on behalf of all of us, Modim anachnu lach. We are utterly and we are profoundly grateful to you, dear God, utterly and profoundly grateful to you, dear God, that Rabbi Citroen Walker and his members escaped with such bravery and with such courage. Tonight, generally in moments like this, we'd be saying Kaddish for Jews. We don't have to say Kaddish for those Jews tonight. And they didn't just escape. They didn't just show bravery, but I believe, just like those people on Flight 93 saved the horror and the terror of watching the Capitol explode, last week they saved the collective Jewish spirit from not having to see a kidnapping that turned into murder. We dodged a bullet, and we should be thankful. We should be profoundly grateful. Be so unbelievably grateful to law enforcement, so many of whom showed up were willing to protect us. But I don't look at last Saturday or Sunday morning as a good day. Grateful, unbelievably grateful. But I believe that that day just added darkness to the reality of the Jewish day. You see, that age-old conspiracy of Jew hate is alive and it's well. Like the Amalekites from this week's Torah portion, who were cowards because they attacked where we were most vulnerable, where we didn't expect, from back, from behind, children. These cowards go into places where we're most vulnerable. We're pouring out our hearts in prayer. We're talking to God. We're talking to Schwartz next to us. We're complaining about our rabbi's sermons and how long they are. We're not thinking about people coming in with cliques that end up being guns and bombs. Did you know now that 60% of hate in this country is aimed at 2% of the American population? 60% of all hate right now in America is aimed at 2% of the population, and we are the lucky 2%. It's us. We Jews once again are playing some kind of symbolic role in the imagination of so many that actually bears no connection to their lived experience. It may be a canard, but the ways in which we are being attacked are not fake, are not facade, are not disguise, and not canard at all. We can reject the fact that Jews run the banks. We can poo-poo the idea that the Jews run the media and the movie industry in the country. But when it manifests, those canards, in blatant attacks we are facing, we better open our eyes wide and clear. And the question is, what do we do besides tweeting, besides posting, and besides Instagramming? That's all makes us feel good in a moment. Our fingers go wild and disguise what we're feeling inside. But there are things that we're going to have to do clearly, articulately, loudly, and proudly. First and last, as we live like Jews always have. It's in our DNA to live with hope. It's in our DNA to live with faith. It's in our DNA to live with optimism and believe in a better day. We're supposed to go around with an energy that says everything is as if it's going to be better. Not because we live in a fantasy land, but because our inclination to live with that kind of hope is what gets us up in the morning, to fight another day, to know, as the prophet that we'll celebrate in just a little while, that we will, and I do believe it, in the midst of this, we will overcome. I do believe that we Jews will overcome. It doesn't mean that we allow ourselves just to be scared. We should be scared. It just means that we don't surrender to becoming paralyzed in our fear. There's a big difference. We should affirm the fact that this is scary, that this is frightening. The paralysis of fear is different than feeling fear. So no, let's take the combination of hope and of fear and make it encourage us to fight and change the landscape. That on the ground means that you should all know that we are very lucky as a congregation. Most congregations, I would say, there's maybe 50 in the whole country that have a security system like we do. And I'm not talking about the security system leaning the alarm. I'm meaning those brave men who are here 2, 3 at a time. I'm not going to explain their protocols or what it is because it's not appropriate from a security protocol. But as I said in the letter to you last week, yes, they are unbelievably friendly and unbelievably loving, and it's from their hearts. They're like brothers to me. But don't be mistaken by their kindness. Those men out there are willing to put their lives on the line for us, and they do every single day. And I would ask you, in whatever COVID way you feel comfortable, to make sure you shake or hug or elbow or fist pump those guys tonight and every night, because they are our everyday heroes and here for us. That goes for the Milburn Police. That goes for Department of Homeland Security. That goes for the FBI and for the sheriff who was here starting at 6 o'clock this morning. We are very lucky that we have the resources to protect ourselves. So, no offense, but when you get the security charge on your bill, pay it with joy, because it's protecting the Jewish people. Pay it with joy because it's protecting the Jewish people. But for the first time in my career, 24 and a half years in my rabbinate, I never dreamed in a million years that I would ever say this. We're going to go further than that. I now think that it's time for those people in our congregation who want to be trained to help defend our congregation. That means ushers and that means greeters who are not just going to be there to say hello and love you and kiss you and hug you, and they're not going to be armed either. We're not putting guns in people's arms. But if you know what happened this weekend, they got out because they were trained. They were prepared to deal with a terrorist because they were trained. And those of us who want to be trained in this congregation will be doing the same as well in conjunction with Federation and in conjunction with other services of people who are doing this. We are living in a different day. I believe that it is time for us to wisely play this role as well. Next, I'm going to ask us, as I always have, to be loud and clear about our support for political leadership or the lack thereof. If political leadership from either party doesn't help us fight our fight, then they don't get our support. Plain and simple. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, if you are not supporting the Jewish people and you are at all allowing anti-Semitism to breed or breathe, then we are not supporting you. We have to speak up loud and proud about our Judaism. We have to live it overtly. We have to be willing to speak up and out about it when we hear others make a tint of a joke about Jewish people. And when there is silence, folks, we're really good at kibitzing, aren't we? When there's silence out there, then we need to fill the void. We should wear it proudly. I've said this before, and the truth is there are a few of us, it's mostly our teenagers who heed the call. If you own a chai, I've said this before, if you own a Star of David, don't put it inside your chest, put it outside of your shirt. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There may be something to be scared of, but we are going to fight that fear with pride. Know realistically who it is that our allies are and who it is that they're not. I hate saying this, especially when I know this is on tape and this will go out there. I hate saying this in my capacity as the president of the Coalition of Religious Leaders of the state of New Jersey. I got calls of support, but way too few. The support that I'm used to felt more like crickets than it did feel like support. And it's important for us to understand and assess what our relationships are, who our allies are, and to make sure that those who are really our allies, we triple and quadruple down on those relationships and reassess otherwise at the same time. If you heard David Harris this week, he's one of the first that I turn to in moments like this because of his wisdom and his ability to articulate, the president of National AJC. He said something I've never heard before, but I love the way he put it. It's time for us to be swivel-headed, he said. Anyone see that? Time for us to be swivel-headed. That means that there are those attempting, maybe even in the sanctuary, for sure I got emails that said the same, who are weaponizing what's going on for their own political gain. Those who only pay attention to the media stories that help their partisan narrative. Well, I'm going to tell you that just like the lulav and the etrog, which way do we shake the lulav and etrog? Anyone want to tell me? Which way do we shake it? I know you have, yeah, good, thanks. Sherry's at least doing some symbolism for me out there. Yeah, the answer is it's a trick question. We shake it everywhere. So go ahead, look up, look down, look left, look right, look down. I don't care which part of the political spectrum you're on. There is hate coming from all sides of it, and if you try to make believe that it's about your political party or another political party, then you are missing the whole point. You're being duped, and we are going to be able to say, we prefer hate over unity. Because the truth is that those who divide us, if we allow them to divide us, if we allow us to somehow get pulled to one side or the other, then we're done. And I mean it. I've said this to you before, and I'm not sure if these messages get across. If you get duped to believe that it's the left who's responsible, or the right who's responsible, or the up that's responsible, the down that's responsible, then you are allowing ourselves to be divided so that others can intoxicate themselves with political corruption, and we will be done. Full stop. Last point. We can't live on defense. We're good at it. We are really good at rallying around defense. Our Judaism has never been and should never be predicated on defending ourselves. It doesn't mean we shouldn't defend ourselves. That's not our faith. We're supposed to live on offense. We're supposed to live in a way that actually makes us know why it is that we are Jewish. To practice being Jewish when we understand why it is. To stand up for Jewish ethics and values. To stand up against all forms of hate because it makes us better. Not because we say, oh my goodness, who's standing for me and am I standing for them? No, we do it because we're better people. Because we're better people. We're supposed to live and be thankful for life, to love the people around us, to make every single day count, to study and to read and to watch, and to explore out loud what our faith means, what our Judaism is about, what our traditions are. I know we've gotten so used to in America where once upon a time we wanted to be much more American than we wanted to be Jewish. Well, guess what? Other people who don't like us don't see us that way. We're Jewish because we're Jewish. So figure out what it is. Of course, I prefer you to do it here on Friday nights. But the truth is, wherever you want to do it, with your mezuzah, with your Chagall, Goldberg's is opening up again, with your bagels and lox, however it is you want to do it, make sure you overtly, you want to make challah on Friday nights? I'll eat your challah. Be overtly Jewish. Because I'm going to tell you right now that we have to remember why we love who we are. Because remembering who we are will defeat hate and will redeem our people. It will redeem our people with the kind of pride and the kind of steadfast commitment that rabbi and his congregants acted in the way they did a week ago in Texas. There's a lot of work for us to do, and as hard and as sad and as scary as it all sounds, I actually believe, again, that we have the power and the fortitude to overcome. It's not just who we are. It's actually built into our wiring. It's part of our DNA. So God, as I've been saying all week, in words to all of you who have written to me, I just pray with all my heart and all my spirit. I ask you, God, to please bless us and keep us, and to help us thrive, not just survive, but to be everything we were supposed to be when you brought us into the world in the first place. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Speaking about the ultimate prayer of redemption, we turn back to our prayer books to the middle of page 282. We ask you to please rise as the ark is opened. Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gdula le'otzer reshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'arasot, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמן והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה
This week, we marked the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And tonight we honor his legacy and the seeds he planted, which continue to bear fruit in our own day. King's life was one of envisioning, of dreaming for a better time in our world. So we take this moment before Mourner's Kaddish to remember the ultimate sacrifice he made for the sake of his dream. At Bnai Jeshurun each year, we mark the Shabbat by remembering another role model of social justice. Esther Tidor, beloved aunt of our own Madeline and Charlie Dreyfus. Many may say they walked with King during the marches of the civil rights era, but Aunt Esther was there, and she let her footsteps express her values. She passed those values on to her family, and they generously passed them on to us. We know, Charlie and Madeline, that you are watching us from New York. We know you wish you could be here. If you had come tonight, we know you would have brought Aunt Esther's signed copy of King's book, Why We Can't Wait. We actually have a picture of it here because we still wanted to have its essence with us. You can actually see it signed, Best Wishes, Martin Luther King, April 4th, 1967, literally 1 year exactly before his assassination. We thank you for your support of this evening, this sacred evening, and for always lovingly sharing this familial and historical relic with our congregation. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may their memories ever be a blessing. For our world today, we need it so much, as together we say, Amen. We, of course, also remember our own members of our community. If you hear the name of someone you are remembering, only if you are so inclined, we invite you to rise in honor of their memory. In the period of Shloshim, the 30 days of memory, we remember Robert Kaplowitz, Elaine Freinberg, Martin Schwartz, Louis Kress, Stuart Savitt, Mitchell Bloom, Muriel Caden, Richard Zeitlin, and Pearl Schottenfeld. And on their anniversary of passing this Shabbat, their yahrzeit, we remember David Abuoff, Beatrice S. Edelman, Betty Altman, Milton Bernstein, Sylvia Bierman, Harry Black, Leslie L. Blau, Max Blau, Sarah Moransky Bornstein, Minnie Brenner, Hilda Rockland Nee Brenner, James J. Colt, David W. Dykesell, Nathaniel Ellen, Erwin S. Francis, David Freinberg, Harry Freeland, Yetta Freeman, Jerry Goldberg, Lois Goldberg, William Goldstein, Frank Grad, Louis M. Green, Theodore Gerdell, Dr. Edward L. Grubin, Babetta Hammerschlag, Sidney E. Harris, Max Hemmendinger, William J. Holtz, Harry M. Jacobson, Joseph C. Kaltenbacher, Pauline Kaplis, Dr. Henry H. Kessler, Sylvia Klein, Hermance Weil Kramer, Edgar M. Kreidel, Max A. Lazarus, Leopold Leichman, Edith Levy, Raphael Lewis, Clarice Lozowick, Jonas A. Mayer, Sarah Mayer, Mammy Michaels, Minnie Lewis Millett, Jean Mendez, Jacob L. Newman, Frank Park, Irving Pilch, Paula Polovi, Philip Patetsky, Joseph Precker, Hilda Brenner Rockland, Saul Reinfeld, Paul C. Rennert, William Isaac Rosenthal, Walter Max Rothschild, Max Shapiro, Louis A. Schenken, Arthur H. Schlosser, Sidney L. Seiler, Walter Sickle, Joseph Lazarus Silverman, Richard P. Slobodin, Bertha K. Spingarn, Nancy Voigt Stern, Annie Burla Strauss, Harriet W. Sturm, Ann Treitman, Bart Walkester, Aaron Walter, Gladys Weiss. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may each of their memories ever be a blessing for us in our own lives today. We rise as one sacred community to join in Kaddish. Their words can be found on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'gala u'vizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam u'lamei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu la'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amin ram be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to people everywhere. As together we say, Amen. Please be seated. In your order of worship, you'll see announcements of things going on in the weeks to come. 2 important things for this weekend. The first tomorrow morning, 8:45. Each week we have our Torah study class and Shabbat morning minyan where we can say Kaddish. Tomorrow morning we will invite those who are comfortable to return in person to the Hoffman Library. Of course, we also have a Zoom option, but we'll be back to our hybrid version. And however you're comfortable, we invite you to study with us at 8:45. I mentioned about Martin Luther King Shabbat, and thanks to the generosity of the Dreyfus family, again, on Sunday morning at 9:45, there's going to be a virtual musical presentation celebrating Dr. King's birthday, led by Matt Turk and the curatorial and music team. That is going to be really special and wonderful. It's going to be on Facebook and on our other platforms. You'll be getting more information about that. It's on the website. You'll see it on social media, but join us virtually 9:45 on Sunday morning for that. And you'll see lots of other things happening in the weeks to come in our order of worship. We're going to continue with Shabbat evening Kiddush and Motzi, which is on this side tonight, and I will bring it on to the other side.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kinishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. B'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinhaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Paul and Silas were bound to jail, had no money for to go their bail. Keep their eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Freedom's name is mighty sweet, someday we're gonna meet. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on, hold on. The only chain that a man can stand is that chain of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on, keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Haven't been to heaven, but I've been told the streets are there paved with love and gold. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on, hold on. on the prize, hold on. The only thing that we did wrong was stay in the wilderness way too long. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.